Hello, everybody. Welcome into this One Nation weather forecast for America. Thank you to everybody who has served or is serving in the military. Definitely dedicated to our country, and we really appreciate it for you there. As we get a look for you here, moving on past Memorial Day into your June 2023, this is what our forecast is going to be looking like, detailing the hot, the dry, the wet and stormy, just the plain old wet. That's all coming up for you here in this forecast. Now, your Thursday, June 1st pattern looks like this. So this is just as we get into the start of June. Notice how most of the precipitation looks to be in portions of Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, again, in the plains in the north. That's where we're going to have a good bit of this precipitation. We'll also have some of that heavier rain into Florida with tropical moisture. Other areas look to trend drier. That includes the west coast, portions of the southwest, as well as portions of the northeast. But again, there is some precipitation around in many directions that you look on your screen for you here. But one thing that's really going to be interesting for us here as we go into Thursday, June 1st, look at how warm the northern tier of the country is in comparison to the southern tier, where we'll actually be cooler than average. So again, not to say your temperatures won't be warm in the south, it's just compared to average, they'll be cooler than average. And this is really coming in due to this Rex blocking pattern with heat in the north, really a ridge of high pressure up there, low pressure trying to dive right on under it. And this is what the National Weather Service says. This is their exact definition and picture for a Rex block. Rex block is characterized by a high pressure system located poleward direction of a low pressure system. Check, it is on the north side, except this is shifted a little bit further east, with of course the high pressure being over the Great Lakes and the low pressure being further south. And again, the low pressure is going to, of course, produce more of that rainfall, which is why where the low pressure is, we at least have some low certainty that we could see some severe weather June 1st through June 5th, coming out of the Dakotas and going on back into Texas and the southern plains for us here. And it will be quite rainy in those zones, many spots picking up at least an inch, but a couple inches to 4 inches being predicted by the GFS model right now. Many spots around the southeast coast, at least, producing more rainfall for you there. Could produce some flooding into Florida, where we see some of those isolated higher totals as well. Now, as we go more towards the middle of the month, June 5th through 12th, look at the rain. Looks to be kind of in a band for us here. Some of these zones from portions of Washington, Idaho, Montana, curling down through portions of the southern plains, and then all the way into the south and east. That's where we have the best rain chance. And with that pattern still kind of dissolving and lingering into portions of the Great Lakes region, that's where we're having lower precipitation chances up there, especially into the northern plains. That's where it looks to be drier and as well cooler. In fact, many parts of the eastern two-thirds of the country, southern third, all of those zones staying below average in the temperature department. The only above average zone looks to stay for us here in the far northwest as we go June 5th through 12th. And that is exactly what the Climate Prediction Center picks up on there in their temperature outlook, with many spots staying cooler further south and east. And it looks to be more wet the further you go to the west, wetter, whatever you want to say for that there. And then notice as we go, again, there's that below average precipitation right around the Great Lakes. Not well below, but at least below, to where we could see some isolated drought issues. Now, the good news is the plains do have some issues on the drought monitor and more severe weather, though. That is not what we want. But it is just a low-end certainty that we could see some severe weather the 5th through the 12th, mainly from the South Dakota region down into the southern plains around Texas, Oklahoma, those areas for you here, the Red River Valley. June 12th through June 26th for us here, more warmth in the eastern two-thirds of the country. Some cooler air right into the Mountain West, still kind of warm right along the west coast for us here, and more of that precipitation getting going into many areas of the country the 12th through the 26th. And as we get more of that precipitation and warmth to move eastward for us here, I would anticipate at least the low-end chance that some of our activity gets severe in a low fashion for us here, the 12th through the 26th, from portions of the Ohio Valley, portions of the Mississippi River Valley, back on over into the Red River Valley and the southern plains. So this is what the end of June temperature trends look to be like, with more warmth in the south and east, more cool air into portions of the Mountain West for us there, not along the immediate west coast, which is why the Climate Prediction Center's outlooks look like this. And we'll jump right through these, because here is the exclusive One Nation weather June precipitation forecast for us here. Again, you can see on the keys down below what you're looking at for you here. In general, we're not going to see too many dry areas, but slightly dry in portions of Arizona and New Mexico in general. Slightly dry as well into portions of Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Michigan in general. But our wettest spot is definitely going to be in the plains, with also Florida staying quite wet as well. The warmest spots are going to be around Iowa, Wisconsin, portions of Missouri and Illinois for us there. Those are the warmest spots for us, as well as back into the Pacific Northwest. Cool in the Mountain West, and then in general warm in the southern tier, as well as portions of the New England coastline for us there. Now, shifting gears to our hurricane season forecast, yes, because June 1st does mark the start of hurricane season. In general, it is looking like an average season, but that does not mean you don't need to be prepared. We've got 12 to 17 named storms expected from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. 5 to 9 hurricanes, 1 to 4 major hurricanes, which in one major hurricane hitting your town, that's all it takes. Remember that. Look at this. We could have some of that energy developing into portions of mid-June for us here. We've got to watch some of the precipitation that gets going in the Gulf of Mexico. But the good news is it looks to stay, in general, drier into many of these areas where we need that precipitation, because the more precipitation you have in an area, the better chance you have that it could gather itself together this time of the year. There's just not a lot of it getting going here into portions of the Caribbean, even into the Gulf, as it looks like mid-June. So that's the good news for us here. Still, though, right along the immediate coastline, those are the systems that we might watch for, and the first named system would be Arlene. Thank you so much for watching One Nation Weather Forecast for America. Go ahead and subscribe, hit the like button, and here are the credits.